spoke on the phone with you're investing. You're doing like remote investing. So you started buying and selling real estate. That's what you started to do, dude. I really just want to talk about how you're like what you're doing. I'll let you start, man.
Yeah. So no, I mean, and you and I have known each other for a good amount of time, and
Yeah.
started out as a realtor. Perfect. Great entry into the business. Got into doing a couple flips here and there, and then just got super infatuated with this idea of just investing anywhere. Like I don't know,
Yeah.
it just sort of hit me there where it was like, if the numbers work, if you got your teams in order, if you got systems in order. And you know me, I'm a systems guy, everything's got to be organized.
Yeah.
Then it was just something that was so interesting to me. So I started out with land flipping, or essentially buying land and selling it or subdividing it or doing some value add, put in a driveway, get permits and then sell it, something like that.
Yep.
And then lately, the past 10 months have been doing land home packages, manufactured homes, installing brand new affordable housing, 1,000 miles away from where I live, and we actually just started on our 16th home in the past 10 months,
dude.
and it's going great, man. Like, and there's a lot of stuff you learn, but it's such a good business. It really
Well,
is.
I think I think what's fascinating to me, what really kind of stuck out is one of the questions that you usually hear. I don't know if you hear it, but it's, why don't real estate? If this is such a good deal, say on a property, why don't realtors do that? And I think, but I think what made me so fascinated with you is that you didn't just go into investing and, I'm going to do a flip here and there. You're like, hey, I'm going to go halfway across the country. I'm going to buy land. I'm going to flip it. And then I'm going to put a house on it. And then I'm going to, like, you just went to the, I don't want to say like respectfully, the crazy extreme where it's, again, it caught my attention and I'm like, I need to
We
know,
got to talk
dude.
about this, right?
Yeah, I
Like, we
need to
gotta
know
see
more.
what's going on.
But I think it's cool because it also opens up the ideas for just the real estate market in general. Like, look, just because you're a real estate agent, you're not stuck doing this. Now, respectfully, you could probably kill it. You can grow a team. You can also flip, but then there's like no limitation on that. And I think that's such a cool topic.
Yeah.
So cool. Where are we flipping? Where'd
Yeah.
you go? Where's the 1,000 miles away, dude?
Eastern Tennessee.
Sheesh.
So within like an hour and a half, 2 hours of Knoxville. It's a great market for this stuff. And yeah, to your point, man, like it's something where I think we just get so stuck in like, okay, I'm doing this, so I'm a realtor now, or I'm doing this, so I'm this now. And you can go and you can change and you can add new things to your business. You can do whatever you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And with this, I just saw, I think we all know that we just have this affordable housing crisis in America. We call it a crisis,
Sure.
but it really doesn't even describe it. Like people just can't afford homes, and there's just not enough homes being built at the price brackets where we need them. So, we'll put a brand new home in the ground, Eastern Tennessee. It'll take us 3.5, 4 months to put it in, and we'll be able to sell like a 1,500 square foot, 4-bed, 2-bath home for like 230 grand to people. And that in Massachusetts cannot happen. Like it just cannot happen. So for me, it was, all right, let's find a market where it works and then work backwards from there. All right, how do the numbers look? What do our contractors look like? So it was just, it sounds crazy.
It's
like
nuts,
to talk about it. Like,
Yeah.
and why wouldn't you do something around here? Why would, why Tennessee? Like, why this? And keep in mind, I've never seen any of the homes I've built. Like, I've never, gone down
That's
there in
even
person
crazier.
to see any of them. Right. And some people might get a little, freaked out by that.
Yeah.
But for me, it was just a natural progression. It was, all right, we know how to find the land. Perfect. All right, let's install a home. Perfect. Do the numbers work? Great. It was just, I don't know. It was just easy.
Yeah. Well, I want to rewind. Where did this come from? How'd you even come up with this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would never think of, hey, man, I'm going to go to Utah. And
Right. Well,
so, yeah, I just want to hear the thought processes of Jack. Where did this happen? How'd you find this? Like, where'd you start? How'd you start?
Well,
Who tipped you off, man?
Who tipped us? Right, exactly. And if you want to talk about Utah's a good market for this stuff too. We might have to talk about it.
Man, I'm sure.
As long as you can find water, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. If there's no water, you're kind of screwed. But essentially how I found it, I was talking with a coach, and I'm a huge proponent of coaching, like, and just hiring somebody or talking with people that have done what you're trying to do and getting there. Like, and it was something that I resisted for the longest time because I didn't want to spend money, and I was
think
like,
it's a scam.
right? You think it's a scam, but I think for me it was, all right, well, why would anybody tell me, and give me the secret sauce? Like, why would anybody explain exactly how they've done something to me?
Yeah.
And once you just start talking to people, you realize that people are really open to sharing this. I have trained, I don't know, I think like 5 or 6 people to do exactly what I'm doing in my
Awesome.
exact market because I just know there's more deals out there.
Yeah.
And like if they start doing well, we can partner on things, we can joint venture, we can, I don't know, I can provide services to them, like whatever it is, there's just more out there.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to it, it was like, all right, let's find it. And I found it through a coach that I'd already been working with for doing land flipping. And we had just both noticed that the market was a little saturated. There's a lot of people out there, land flipping. If anybody owns land, you get a bunch of, like 10 letters a month, basically, basically saying like, oh, I'll buy your land for cash and this and
Yeah.
that. And you probably get it, unlike your real estate.
Yeah.
It's,
I'll do it all the time.
it's ridiculous. Yeah, right. And there was just so much of that. So I said, all right, why don't we just, instead of just flipping the land, why don't we figure out a way to just buy the land and build the house, because it's a lot easier to sell somebody a house that's brand new,
Of course.
as opposed to a piece of land that people don't have great imaginations sometimes, or
Well, I
they just
think
can't
too.
deal with it.
Well, I think too. Sorry, put a
ahead.
bookmark. I think
Yeah.
too. It's because you don't know what to do with that land. There's so many rules. A little off topic. I was looking at land. It was probably a couple years ago. Same thing, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna buy a parcel, put a house, whatever, and then you start getting into, well, you need a permit for a driveway. You need this. You need access. You need utility. And I'm like, what?
It's a lot.
And then you go through it, and you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna stick with something older that's already on here and has all the permits.
Yep.
Just to your point, right? It's I agree. It's very, unless you really know what you're doing, like you have somebody on your side that has done it and that can guide you.
Yep.
It's risky business, and again, that's why I'm just so fascinated about how you just dove into it.
Right.
So cool.
And I hired a coach that,
Yeah.
was recommended to me by somebody else. And it's all personal recommendations.
Sure.
Like none of it, like I didn't click on anybody's link in their bio on Instagram. I didn't do any of that. Like it was all personal recommendations because I wanted to talk to people who had done it. Found this coach. His name's Robert Howell. He's fantastic. He's in South Carolina doing this. He has a coaching program as well.
Yep.
And yeah, he's doing, I think, like 30 to 40 of these a year, like just in his one county. Like he just runs that county and he knows his contractors, his ways of doing things. So I got coached up by him and his partner, Chris. And I said, well, I don't want to do it in your county, but let's find a county that does well. I always have liked Tennessee. I've been there once. Like it was great. And I was just looking for where stuff's selling. And I think that's the thing. You just got to find where there's a need and then say, all right, well, can you fulfill that? Like sometimes it's too saturated. Like sometimes it's, there's too many people there. Sometimes there's not enough. Just got to find that.
Yeah, that's interesting topic too. The whole saturation stuff. I feel like sometimes, and I know I want to get back to like the numbers and stuff, but sometimes I feel like people think it's saturated, but in reality, it's just a bunch of people trying to do something, so it looks like it's saturated. And again, that might be a conversation for a whole nother time.
That's a good point.
Just with business, right? Even in real estate, right? There's a ton of we'll say agents, people in real estate. They're like, oh, I don't want to do this. This person's already doing it. I'm like, but is everybody doing it, or is it just the one person that's consistently doing it, or it's everybody trying to do it, but they're not really doing it, right? And again, that's a topic that can go deep on, bro.
Yeah, we'll talk for another 3 hours.
Yeah. And so it's just fascinating. Again, I work with a ton of business owners and agents, and I hear that, and it's like, but then they bring up who they're referring to or what the industry is, and I'm like, I don't know. You might want to reconsider that. But anyways,
it might just be the perception of
Exactly.
like it's too saturated. Like that really might be what it is.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're onto something.
Yeah.
I like that.
the thing is, I know we're veering a little off topic, but the thing is, dude, I tell so many people it's a lot easier than, like, just life in general is a lot. It's hard, but it's a lot easier than you make it out to be.
Yes.
Because of the perception, right? Oh, this person's, the amount of times that people told me, wait till you have kids, this and that. But I had a boss I was working at Verizon Wireless was a great guy. He was an awesome guy. But I love cars, right?
I
used to
forgot
have
you
so
were at
many.
Verizon.
Dude, slinging phones all day, bro. But I used to drive cool cars, and he would always tell me, and he was a great guy. He was like a father figure at work. And he's like, oh, just wait till you get married and have kids, right? And I'm like, his name is Dave. I love Dave. And I'm like, Dave, I will never not drive cool stuff. And I said it. Yes, I was young. I had a little bit of an ego, but that kind of example just showed me like the perception. If you think it's gonna suck after you get married and have kids, it's probably gonna suck because you're convincing yourself that it's gonna suck. Versus me, my life has never been better, and not bragging. It's just I never wanted to accept that it's game over once you get married. Like, bro, I married my best friend. I have an amazing, so another one on the way. Right? It just, I'm gonna tear up.
I'll look at you.
But and I still have cool cars, and it's not the materialistic stuff.
Right.
Oh man. Anyways, back to the perception stuff, right?
Yep.
It's whatever you perceive the market to be, or whatever the industry you're in. That's what it's gonna be in.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that was way off topic. I'm sorry, bro. We're gonna come
that
back.
was perfect. Oh no, we're coming back. But yeah,
Yeah.
Tony Robbins has a good one. Like, what you focus on is what you feel. And
Yes.
like, I find when I have trained people on how to do the land home packages. See, we're coming back here.
Yeah, I love it. Go,
Perfect.
yeah. Yep.
I
Preach.
found that people get caught up in the wrong stuff. You know, number one, people say, "Oh well, how am I going to pay for all of this?" And I'm like, "Well, that's a good question. It's a great question.
Good.
But it's not the question you should be asking. You know, your question should be, how do I find the deal? Like, that should be your question. Because if you have a good enough deal, there's people that are going to help you, and then you can find the financing later." And I tell people, look, you know, and we're going to talk about, I think at some point, you know, I have a coaching program that I'm launching. I'm like,
I'm excited.
Look, oh yeah, and in that program, I specifically tell people, look, like, after this section, pause, get something under contract. Okay, after this section, pause, do all your due diligence. After this section, pause, do all your financing. Like, it's specifically in steps so that people don't get overwhelmed by the thought that it's just too much. It's very linear, and you just got to deal with problems that come up. The crazy thing is, you can't even reap the rewards of solving the financing question until you've solved the finding the deal section. So why would you focus on that? And it's just people that, you know, the people get stuck in that sort of mindset at the beginning, which is, it's a lot going on. It really is.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot. And I love the topic of focus, is because two, this isn't like a coaching pitch on my end. I help out other agency owners and stuff like that. But it's funny because there's two questions that I ask. I'm like, well, first off, you have to understand, are you focused on the right thing? And it's an interesting topic because you think you're focused on the wrong thing. I'm sorry, the right thing. And then the second question is, well, once you figure out if you're focused on the wrong thing, how do I then know what to focus on?
It's a good one.
Right? And again, it gets deeper, but it's because same thing with you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're focused on the financing. Yeah. Brother, if I gave you $100,000 right now, do you have it? Like, can you do something? No. So that's not the problem. You're focused on the wrong thing. And so you have to understand that that's not the problem. We're going to go back. This was like 5 years ago. I had a business partner, great kid. And I flipped a few houses myself. And I love this because he said almost the same thing to me. I'm like, bro, I don't know, man. It's kind of risky. Like, what if something happens? And he sat at the table. He goes, V, start giving me examples of like the worst things that's going to happen, and I'll give you a solution. I was like, no way. And dude, and sure enough, I was like, all right, well, I don't know, water in the basement. Cool. Call this guy. Boom, boom. They get it sealed up next.
Right.
You know, broken custom glass or something. He's like, call these guys. They'll come in. They'll replace the glass next. And he just like, essentially, he was trying to show me that, like, again, you're focused on the wrong thing. Right. How are you focused on the problem if there's no problem yet? Yes. You know what I mean?
It's
like,
so important.
And to the crazy, and that's why what I said earlier too, it's a lot easier than people make it out to seem, because there is, for the most part, an answer to almost everything. And a solution.
I would say everything.
Yeah, there can't be, right.
If you've had a problem, somebody else in history has had that same problem. And I also think, like, to your point on risk, like, yeah, it's risky to do something, but it's also risky not to do something. Like, I think people have this idea of, like, that if they do nothing, then everything will be fine. If you do nothing and you don't you don't provide for your family, or, you just are in the status quo, really, you're not like pushing to like achieve or get better.
Yeah.
Like, what happens if something terrible happens and you're not able to deal with it at the time because you're at a point in life where you have to work the 9 to 5, or you have to do this or that, or you're not able to provide? That's a risk. So it's just do something. One thing I tell everybody is just get, like, if you're in real estate specifically, just get something under contract, like to purchase, because it sort of forces you to just get into everything really quickly. And then you can always back out. Like, that's what a due diligence period's for. You can always back out, get your deposit back. Like, if it doesn't work out, just get something under contract. And, like, I think my first 10 deals I looked at, I went under contract on like 6 of them, and I backed out of 4 of them. Wow. But then the 2 of them netted me like 6 figures. So it's like, all right, I can deal with those numbers.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Exactly.
Oh, that is, I agree. The whole risk thing, man. That's a conversation we could go on. Like, I love.
All right.
There's a risk.
How much time do we have?
Yeah, right. I know, infinite. How much time do all my millions of viewers have?
Billions.
Billions.
Don't forget.
My bad. I keep underplaying myself. No, there's a risk to everything, and it's just. I feel like I operate, and this is. under heavier stress and heavier risk. And but I think there's this subconscious piece to me. I haven't figured it out yet, nor do I care to figure it out. Like, to be honest, I don't give a crap, right? But like, why do I keep trying to break the threshold of like how much pressure I can handle and how much pressure I work under? And like a small answer is because I just want to keep increasing my capacity, right? And it's like it's really stupid. Like, it's not like I just want to have such an insane risk capacity level or stress capacity level that like somebody's huge stress is like absolute minimal.
So it was just, at least for me, it was just getting started. Like I mentioned, I backed out of, more than half of the contracts that I put under contract. 3 months later, I backed out of multiple contracts then. A couple months later, I made some terrible mistakes. I purchased land that I shouldn't have, and, I kind of, lost money on a deal. God forbid, you lose money on a deal. And I think it's
life.
If you do something long enough, you're going to have mistakes. And those mistakes make you better. Never making that mistake again. So.
See? You learn, baby.
Yeah, and now I can teach people not to make that mistake. Will they listen to me? So, I don't know, we'll see. But.
Hey, whatever, man. So let's go back to the, again, risk, land, exactly what you're doing. So like, you got your first piece of land under contract. Yeah. You bought it, you sold it, you flipped it. How did that go?
Yeah, so that actually, I'll talk about sort of my first deal. Sent out some mail. Essentially wanted to reach out to people who didn't live in the county and had owned the land for at least 15 years. So, really just weren't doing anything with it, might not be building, really just holding it maybe for the long term, or sometimes they forget about it. It really does happen with vacant land. People just forget they own it. Sent them a letter in the mail. They reached out to me. Turns out they were actually on the market for like, I think, 40,000, and it just wasn't selling at all. And I said, well, the way I see it, market value is probably somewhere around 30. I'm an investor. I'll buy it quickly. I'll pay cash. No real estate agents. I'll pay your closing costs. I'll do all that fun stuff. I'll be able to pay you 9. And they said, well, absolutely not.
Sure.
Whatever. Which they perfectly fine. Respectfully, yeah. They came back about 2 weeks later and said, well, if you could do 11, we'll be able to close.
Bro.
And I said, yeah, I can do 11. That's perfectly fine. Bought it for 11. Ended up selling at 27. After realtors, I think I made, like 10 grand, maybe a little bit more on that. And this was 3 years ago, and it wasn't a life-changing amount of money, but it was a life-changing process. It told me I can do this 1,000. This was also in Eastern Tennessee. I can do this 1,000 miles away. I know how to do my due diligence now. I know how to talk to the realtors. Like, I know how to do the marketing. And from there, it just kind of exploded.
How long did that process from start to finish last? Or so like from not from the mailers, but say when they first accepted or started the conversation to closing to selling to all that. How long did it take?
Good question. So essentially how it worked is we went under contract and we closed. I think it was like 30 days later. And during that 30 days, I went through and made sure, all right, where's the water? Where's the sewer? Where's the electric? Is the slope too much? Are there any restrictions on building in the county? Is the HOA or the area it was in, actually someplace people wanted to buy. I think that's the most important thing is like, are you buying in an area people actually want to be?
Yeah.
Crazy story. I purchased a piece of land for $1. I think like 2 years ago. I ended up selling it for maybe like 3,500. I want to say 3,500 bucks.
Nice, dude.
But after realtors and closing costs, I think I made like $1,200, something like that. So that was just in a market where people weren't there.
Yeah.
Like, there were no buyers. So I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Whole thing, once we closed, it's probably 2 months on the market and then another month to closing after we accepted an offer. So I'd have to say it was about a 4-month process.
Okay. 10 grand, 4 months.
10 grand, 4 months.
I think that's awesome, dude.
Minimal work. I'm not building. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna also ask questions as like I'm a skeptic agent or investor, right? So so and you did this. You didn't even go there. Like you didn't go to Tennessee. You're saying like slope and this and that. You never even went there.
Well, I have been to Tennessee.
No,
no.
No.
I know what it looks like, but no, I have not seen any of the properties in person that I have sold.
Yeah,
none of them. Which I think is important. It's important for people to understand you can do that.
Yeah,
it's not impossible.
Yeah. So first deal comes in. I mean, what's a feel? You're hooked. You're like, holy crap.
Oh, yeah.
Like, right, you're addicted. You're like, when's the next deal? So how soon after that do you get your next deal?
Well, during when we were, had that land on the market.
So you didn't even sell it yet, and you're already looking.
Didn't
wow.
even sell it yet. Okay, well,
Wow.
because I just knew the value of it, and we were getting good responses. We had sent out a bunch of marketing, a bunch of mail. I think we had been cold calling people or texting people, doing a lot of outbound marketing, and it was perfect because it was like, all right, we have these people coming in. Let's just make offers, and then we'll find the money later. And we did, either through partners or friends and family, or sometimes we negotiated with the seller to essentially let us put their piece of land on the market to sell while we were under contract and do it that way. Like there's we did seller financing on one deal where we purchased it for 180. It was this piece of waterfront, this place called Tellico Village.
Yeah.
It was like a third of an acre, and we bought it for like 180, which is ridiculous in Tennessee. Like majority land doesn't really sell for that much in Tennessee most of the time.
That's nuts, man.
It was a great lot. Seller financed it to us for, I think he had us put 10% down. We paid 2% interest for 6 months. During that 6 months, we found a buyer that was willing to pay us $260. And like that was just a great deal. We took that money, put it into other things. And that's right about the time we started getting into the land home packages because the marketing was slowing down, for just the land flips. And it made more sense to just do the packages.
How did that come into fruition?
Yeah, I found a piece of land that was in a community that was really, really good for manufactured homes. And I don't know. I don't know if this happens with you or any other investor, but the light bulbs start going off. It's like, all right, well, if I sell this land to somebody, what are they going to do? All right, well, they're going to install a manufactured home. And then I said, well, why don't I just do a manufactured home? Like, it wouldn't be that hard. Right about the same time, started talking with the coach I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Found another coach that was able to sort of train me up over like a month and a half of how to do this. And a lot of it is just organization, checklists, people management, and we just got into it. And we got, I think we within the first 6 months, we probably had 9 homes in the ground or somewhat on delivery. Like we went into it quick. Yeah.
How long does it take to put up a prefab? Right, that's what they're called. Yeah, it's not a mobile
prefab.
home.
Yeah, prefab. So there's some different terms. So like a mobile home. What you want to call it is anything built before I think 1972. So
Interesting.
It's not built to HUD standards. That's what you would call your grandmother's mobile home. Like what you see in the mobile home parks, which have their place. Like they really, really do. What we build is built after that. It's built to HUD standards, and it would be called a manufactured home, sometimes a prefab home. But it's not a modular. It's different from a modular home. But the whole time, when we make the order at the factory, it's ready in anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks, depending which factory we go with. But it can be ready as little as 2 weeks. It's fantastic.
Wow, that's quick. Yeah. And that's delivered to the land?
Delivered to the land. After the home's delivered, probably takes another month and a half, 2 months to be able to essentially set the home, hook up all the utilities, put in the underpinning, put in the mailbox and the landscaping and everything that needs to be done. Yeah.
So walk me through from start to finish. Say I'm like, dude, Jack, I'm interested, right? Like, or say besides like working with you one-on-one, say I'm just like, hey man, like what would you tell me the step by step? I have to buy the land, the laws. I mean, what is? Yeah. Just give me the whole step by step from start to finish.
How much time do we have?
Yeah, just briefly. You don't have to give me like the names of the contractors that are out there.
That's right.
I don't need to know.
Tyler West.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't need to know there, but like you buy the land, you got to get the permits, the regulations, you got to get the water supply, the electric. Like, just give me the whole setup from start to finish.
So I think a lot of it is about mitigating risk and not wasting time. So. When we get the land under contract, we have kind of 3 phases of due diligence, if you will. First phase is nice and easy. Let's call the county, make sure that there's no issues with zoning. We can actually put the home there. Let's call the HOA if there is one. Make sure there's no issues. Let's call the title company. Make sure there's no deed restrictions. Saying that you can't put these in because sometimes there are. Where we had a lot one time, it looked fantastic. I was love it. Like it was going to be a home run. Yeah. Looked at the deed restrictions. We couldn't put a manufactured home there, and we had to put like a 2-car garage, like just something like that. So these are things you learn, as you just get into it. But then we confirm, all right, where's the water? How much is it going to cost to hook up? Where's the sewer? Or if we have to get a septic, let's get a septic permit. Just answering those quick questions.
Yeah.
Phase 2 is kind of, all right, let's have our realtor go out there. Let's start getting our quotes for our site work and our footers, and let's start to actually start the permit process. And once we figure out how much it's going to sell for, what the home is going to cost, then we would place the home order. Step 3 is, all right, let's get our insurance in order and let's get all of our permits in order. One thing I think I was telling you, I don't purchase a piece of land unless I have a building permit in my hand. So I get permits before I close. I think that's super, super important for anybody to realize that you can do that. Some counties you can't, but I'm more than happy to pay a couple $1,000 to get permits before I close instead of closing and then having to get permits afterwards. And the county is like, oh yeah, you're going to need more time. And, Jim is out on vacation for the next 2 months and he can't get you anything. And he's the only one who can get you. Like that actually happened to us one time. We closed and like some guy was out of the office for 3 weeks and he was the only one that could issue the building permits.
Oof.
But yeah, I'd say that's that right there. And then going into construction, a couple different phases. Easiest way to describe it, site work. So let's get, our water lines, sewer lines, footers in the ground. Footers are just like the concrete pads that you place the home on. Let's get the home delivered. Let's make sure there's no issues with transport. Let's make sure there's no issues with delivery as well, because sometimes there are. Phase 3 is, all right, let's secure the home, get it on the site, make sure there's not going anywhere, wind's not going to blow it over. Let's make sure there's a lockbox on there, because the first couple deals, we didn't install a lockbox until later, and it was kind of in like a rougher neighborhood. Bit interesting. After that, let's hook up the utilities. Let's get all the water, sewer, electric, HVAC, everything connected. Let's get our plumbing connected. Let's detitle the home to the land. And then after that, let's do our finish work, our landscaping, our mailboxes. Let's make sure the HVAC's working. Let's make sure we're not missing any siding. It's kind of just like a final checklist.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm sure I'm missing stuff in there, but that's what I have. And I think I showed you my spreadsheet of like what we do. It is a monster of like, don't miss any of these 100 things. And it can be intimidating when you look at it. I don't know.
It was. I was like, wow.
Right. But it's important to know you just go in stages. Don't focus on this until you dealt with this.
Right.
And it's a lot easier to understand when you've been in it for a little bit.
Yeah. You said how many homes did you flip? 16?
14.
14. Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cost.
Yeah.
What's it cost, right? I'm sure the billions of viewers are like, Jack, what does it cost?
Right.
So obviously we're in New England, so pricing is a little different. It's higher. I'm gonna say, right? It's really high.
Yeah.
What does it cost, man?
Yeah. Depends on your market.
Besides your dollar piece of land.
Right. Your dollar.
Not every deal's a dollar.
I just picked up another piece of land for $4,500 the other day. That one looks like a steal. But I'm very happy about that one.
Nice.
But usually what it is the land, at least in our market, is somewhere around $30,000.
Okay.
That's how much it costs.
Okay.
So again, I'm in a market that's not in the Northeast. Like, it's not in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And this model, and I've actually looked into it. I would love for this model to work in Massachusetts. The numbers just don't make sense. Yeah. It's much easier and really actually much more profitable. It's just better to do stick-built housing, which has a higher price tag. But I'm not looking to do that. I'm looking to build affordable housing. So I have to go to a market that supports that. So it's $30,000 for the land, let's say.
Okay.
For the home itself, let's say it's $70,000. That's usually what it is, and that is 1,500 square feet. Usually, I do 3 or 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. All appliances included. Everything's good. That includes transport, and then it's about another $70,000 on top of that for permits, hooking up your utilities, getting your insurance, doing all your site work. Basically everything else and associated. Labor, materials, underpinning,
got it.
Everything included. So you're about $170,000 in total. And then usually we're selling for about $240,000 to $250,000 in our market.
Wow, that's awesome.
So essentially, if you take $250,000 minus $170,000, that's $80,000 you can play with. That's usually what we look at when we look at a deal. And then you have to take off of that. All right, well, number one, I have to pay my realtor, take 5% off the top. We might have to pay for some closing cost credits for the buyer because they're affordable houses. They're entry level houses. They are the best thing on the market, at the price that the buyer wants to purchase it at. So typically the buyer needs, us to pay some of their closing costs in order to close. And that's
Yep.
just, it's part of business. So it's
Yeah.
usually about like 10 grand, I'd say.
Okay.
And then we pay closing costs, and then we pay for financing, because I don't tell people this, and like I talked about before, the biggest question I get is, "Well, I don't have the money. I don't
Sure,
have
sure.
This and that."
That's-
Well, screw you. I didn't have the money either.
That's where I was going to go into next. Yeah.
My first 3 deals, I didn't come out of pocket anything. I found partners. The deals were good enough. We split the profit at the end. I did the work. They provided the money. It was perfect.
Win-win.
Yeah. Was it the most amount of profit I could make? And did I give up a bunch of profit to them? Yes. But it got me in the door.
Yeah.
And really now, I don't have to do it that way. I have other partners that I will not give their names out here, because their phones will just be blown up.
Yeah.
It really will. But it's something where you learn and you post. And just like you reached out to me about my post, I've had so many people reach out to me about what I'm posting on Facebook or Instagram.
Right.
Because they're interested, and either they want to be a part of it or just learn about it. And I probably have 10 people in line right now that I just haven't gotten to. They're like, "Oh,
Wow.
I'd love to learn more.
Yeah.
I've got this amount of money. I'd love to partner on something." I'm like, "Yeah, man. As soon as I get the next deal that isn't already with somebody else."
Sure.
So I don't have that problem anymore. And, because I don't have that problem anymore, now I have the problem of, all right, let's find more land.
Right.
So now that's my problem, but then when I find enough land, then it's going to be, all right, well, do I have enough contractors that are good enough?
Right,
So it's
right.
you're always going to have problems.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. And the more, so people say, more money, more problems, right? It's
More money, more problems.
and it's not physical. Like if I have physical more cash, it's just when you have more things in the pipeline, more things moving. Like
Right.
there's more variables that you have to keep accounting for. That's
Oh, yeah, exactly. I think
people don't understand. Yeah,
Yeah, Grant Cardone once said, I want big problems. I want
Yes.
really, really
Yes.
big problems.
Yes.
Grant Cardone, whatever. I'm not a personal fan, but he is who he is because he dealt with big problems, and I'd rather deal with big problems too.
yeah, I agree. It's I'm a big component of, you don't have to like somebody to get value out of them. Not a fan of Grant, whatever. He's crushing it. Not a fan of Gary Vee, but some things that I'm like, wow, this is good.
Of course, you can always learn from people.
of
You
course,
shouldn't
man.
get so focused on I don't like them, so screw them.
That's so stupid. That's so stupid.
It's well, they're good at what they do, so why don't you just take what you like and
Well, it's kind of going back to coaching, right? If they did it and you probably want to do something like that, it's okay to listen to them.
Right.
You don't have to like them, but we don't have to.
Exactly.
So, and this is something that you teach. So I had a question with financing, but I think you kind of answered that, but I'll go back to it. But this is something for to get financing.
Yep.
Right. Say I'm like, hey man, I want to do what you're doing. Right.
Yep.
Say I reached out to you. I mean, I reached out to you. I'm like, dude, I want to know more. And that's why I'm like, dude, let's hop on a pod.
Right,
let's just talk about it.
Right.
I'm like, hey, I want to know more, but my problems, I don't know anything.
Right.
I don't know the market in Tennessee. I don't know I don't have money, right? I have $50 to my name.
Yep.
You're like, hey, I can help you. Obviously, you have, right? I want to leniently say, coaching program, but you help one-on-one with people
Yes.
to acquire financing, to get the deals, or show them how to get the deals. How does that look?
Yeah, and to be honest, it sort of started out of necessity. I didn't ever really think I was going to be a coach or want to have a coaching program. But I just had enough people reaching out to me. It's all right, I need to put something together to help people. So my course goes through, everything, and I'm still building it out because I'm still just so early with it. But it's something where, I remember the problems I had to deal with where I didn't have any money and didn't know the market and didn't have connections. And, I just talk about my experience with those, how to find those, how to find the land, how to find the money. So, what I try to do is educate people on how to do it themselves. For example, I'm a dealer in Tennessee, and a dealer essentially gets to buy mobile homes straight from the factory as opposed to through another dealer. What that means is that, number one, you don't have to deal with a bunch of red tape. Number two, you don't have to pay for a middleman. That's what it is. And I tell every investor I talk with, at least in my market, I say, look, I'm happy to be your dealer, and I've got 150 home models that I can ship anywhere in the state, and we have that business going. But if you want to become a dealer, you don't have to pay me, and it's not that hard. Just take this test and take the, learn this stuff and get a surety bond, and you'll be able to do it. So I'm a big proponent of that. Another reason, I provide financing to people, and that's with a few partners. So if people are just getting started out, they might not have the financing. They might, looking for lenders. When I first started out, I had a couple people where I was like, oh my God, 8% interest, like no payments. Like, oh my God, this is too good to be true. Turns out it was. They wanted payment of points at the end, like in Bitcoin, not through a title company. And like, it's just something you deal with. So my financing is vetted. People I've used with before, but I still tell people, you can use my financing. You can use me if you want. But I would rather train you on how to find those people yourself, get better rates, do more deals. Like, let's just do that. So that's what my coaching program primarily is based on mistakes I went through, things that I learned, but also making sure that, you know, at some point you're self-sufficient. Like, I don't want to be charging you money for a home, you know, if you can get your dealer license and you can save that money. Yeah.
Yeah. Say, I mean, it's a really lucrative business. Say you talked about financing. Say I'm like, yo, I don't want to flip, but say on the other side, somebody has some cash.
Yeah.
Are you entertaining that right now? I know you said you have financial partners. So say somebody has cash and they're like, hey, Jack, I just want to invest. Right? You said 8%. What's something like that look like? Do you have a set structure for that right now?
Yeah. It's a good question. So I don't have a set structure for it. It depends on the deal. It depends on the timeline. It depends on the liquidity. Like, it depends on the amount. I always tell people that, hey, when we're lending money, I am going to give you terms that I feel are fair. And, if you want, to come back with better terms or you have an idea of what you think you should have, then you let me know. Let's make it more of a partnership. But typically, when I talk with an investor, I say, look, I'm going to use your money for 6 to 8 months. That's about how long this process takes from start to finish. And I'm going to be as transparent with you as I possibly can. I'm going to, provide you access to exactly what I look at on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to tell you exactly what's happening. I do like a weekly sort of, like voice memo to every single person who invests on a deal with me.
Yeah.
Because I know that most investors, they want their return, know, and like we talked about that.
Yeah.
You want to get better than a bank account.
Of course.
And if I can give you, 10 plus, percent return annualized, then that's perfect. But I also want you to be confident in the deal. So whether or not you care about what's going on and all you care about is that monthly check in your bank account, I'm still going to update you weekly just to make sure that I'm on top of it, because that's a big issue with people that are lending money, especially for the first time, because it's nerve-wracking. It's like, well, I'm giving you my money. How do I know you're going to do what you say you're going to do? And I just try to be as transparent as possible.
Yeah.
It's the best way to do it.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, man.
And that's I feel like it's a lot. It's very, very beneficial. Like, I don't know what the coaching program looks like, but I feel like, you get a ton of value out of there.
Oh, yeah. Weekly calls, like I'm always available. Even now I try to be available, but I don't always have the time in the world. And if you're in the coaching program, then, oh my God, I'll be available anytime. I want to help. Like,
No,
I just want to help, man.
Well, I think the thing you said you kind of built it out for necessity, because I think, and you could speak into this as well, but I feel like you seem like you want to give away the information. Like, you're willing to, like, I hopped on a call and you're like, bro, whatever you need to know.
Yeah.
But I think there comes a time where it's like, okay, I can only tell you this so many times, and the only time you're going to take it seriously is if I have to charge, right? Yes, obviously it's to make some money.
Yes.
Yes.
I just want to be able to, help people, and people can reach out to me at any time, during the process when they're there. And to your point, if people reach out, I've got one kid right now. I love talking with him. Yeah. He blows up my phone, I'd say like once or twice a day, and he's not in the coaching program. Yeah. And at some point, I'm going to tell him, look, man, like, I just don't have the time.
Correct.
And let's talk about this. Maybe you want coaching, maybe you don't. Maybe it's right for you, maybe it's not. There's plenty of coaches out there. It's just finding one that works. And if anybody's interested in any of this, you can send me a text. My personal cell is 508-237-6647. Like, I'll respond. I try to respond every, once every couple hours. Yeah.
What's the best way? Are you on social media or?
Yeah.
On social media. Awesome. We'll throw some links below.
Yeah.
Dude, this has been awesome, man.
It's been great.
This has been super, super, super cool.
I love the tangents we get on, man.
I know.
We should do this more often.
That's what I'm saying, man.